Remember in my last video, we talked about what maintaining status quo antebellum means and how the Independent National Electoral Commission acted by interpreting it to mean removal of David Marks-led faction from its portal, therefore by that action leaving the party without any recognized leadership. The decision was taken by INEC on April 1st, 2026. So the INEC chairman interpreted the Court of Appeal order, which was given on March 12, 2026. Now, the order did not say remove names. It didn't say recognize one faction. It simply said maintain status quo ante bellum. Now, let's move forward from here and let's discuss the events that occurred. So if you want to have more information on this, please visit my last video and you'll get to know everything about this discussion and how we got to this point in detail. And also don't forget, please follow me up on YouTube, Mimi_Yakiga. So kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel so we can build a stronger and a bigger community of like minds. Thank you so much. Now, let us fast forward to the event of April 14, 2026, because this is where the next layer of what will become of both ADC, INEC, the court, and by extension, Nigeria. Now, where do I begin? How do I start? So, ADC had three separate court cases converging around April 14, 2026. Three. Not necessarily all filed that day, but all active and colliding at the same time. Don't worry, we're going to break it down. The first one is the original leadership case, which was filed by Nafi Bala Gombe on September 2nd, 2025. That case was challenging the emergence of David Mark as chairman. That is the main case. The second is the Supreme Court appeal filed by David Mark's faction, challenging the effect of the Court of Appeal ruling and also asking for a stay of execution, which is them telling the court, please do not take action on this case. But something dramatic happened. On April 15, the David Marks-led lawyer withdrew the case, leaving the status quo order in place. Please keep that in mind. The third case is the fresh April 14 case, which was filed by state chairman. Now, 7 ADC members filed this, representing state chairman and state executives. They were challenging the legality of the interim leadership structure. They were arguing that they had no authority to conduct Congress or convention. So this is the fresh case that produced the April 14 pause everything order. So by April 14, ADC was not just dealing with one case. It was standing in 3 different courtrooms at once. The original leadership case, a Supreme Court appeal from the same dispute, and a fresh suit from state chairman challenging the legality of the party's action. So, on April 14, 2026, the Federal High Court did not give a final judgment. That is important for us to note. What the court gave was a preservatory, that is an interim order. So what exactly did the court say? The court, that is Justice Joyce Abdulmalik, directed that all parties must maintain status quo ante bellum, which means no action should be taken that would render the case useless, and that parties should go back, file responses, and return for proper hearing, which was scheduled for April 23rd, 2026. I hope I am right on that date. And so now, after this, the ADC faction led by David Mark proceeded to have the convention. So let's talk on the convention. What happened inside the convention? It is very important for us to note these actions. So what happened inside the convention? Let us break it down. Number one, leadership was reaffirmed. That is to say, David Mark National Working Committee was ratified, meaning that they publicly reinforced their authority. Number two, the party structure was updated. What they did is that they amended the constitution and they adopted a new manifesto. And number three, members were expelled. That was including Gombe and others for anti-party actions. This was also mixed with political message which was sent by Peter Obi, Rotimi Amechi, Atiku Abubakar, and other members of the party, positioning ADC as a major opposition force for 2027. But here's a contradiction. While all this was happening, INEC was absent. There was no monitoring, no official recognition. So now a convention is held, leadership is ratified, decision taken. But from the legal and electoral standpoint, this matter is still hanging in the air. But now, let us add context to this event. What is the real meaning of what just happened? Now come closer, let's talk. Let's add context to what is happening. Why did the David Mark-led faction proceed with the convention despite legal warnings? Through actions, the Mark faction was essentially saying, we are moving forward with or without recognition, while the courts sort themselves out. So what the David Mark and his faction have essentially done is this. They have stepped back from trying to fight every layer of the process at once. But instead, they've said, let the courts decide. Let the matter go back before the trial judge, where the substance of this case will be heard and decide. Remember I told you to hold a thought. So, by David Mark-led faction withdrawing that stay of execution at the Supreme Court, they are in effect saying, we will not keep chasing technical pauses. We will allow the judicial process run its full course. But here is where it gets even deeper. While leaving the final decision in the hands of the courts, they did not freeze politically. They moved ahead with the convention. And that generates the question, why? Because sometimes in systems like ours, things don't collapse because there is no law. They collapse because everything is trapped in technicality. One court says pause. Another process is pending. Then institutions begin to hesitate. And suddenly, nothing moves. So the Mark faction made a different calculation. They said, we will not stop completely. The system might hide behind procedure, but if we move, the system will be forced to respond. Because once you hold a convention, INEC must eventually take a position. The court now must confront real actions, not hypotheticals, and institutions like INEC will no longer sit comfortably in ambiguity. They have to take actions. So what ADC has done is this. They have placed the final authority in the hands of the judge to decide the future of democracy in Nigeria. And by so doing, they've added pressure on the system to act. So this is not just politics. This is a test of institutions. Because sometimes when things begin to get lost in technicalities, someone needs to take the initiative to step forward, not to break the system, but to force the system to show itself by its name. It is a truth at a time. Take care and have a nice day.